Hey guys, it's Marco Hanna, and this is the Motorola Droid Turbo, the same phone we took a look at a couple days ago. Now, I've been using this phone as my daily driver for the past couple days, and it's still proving to me as a very interesting phone. But there's one interesting feature that the Droid Turbo has, which is the resemblance to this guy, the Moto X for 2014. Now, this phone's probably one of the best Android phones of 2014, and it is made by Motorola, and the specs and the size of these two are identical, really, in terms of size, screen size. Now, the big difference is obviously the screen resolutions, the hardware inside, and this video is all about the cameras, which is actually a big difference between this guy and this guy. The Moto X 2014 has a 13 megapixel camera, same one that's on the Nexus 6, and this guy has a 21 megapixel camera sensor, one that we probably haven't seen on any Motorola phone for a long time, and you would think with more megapixels you might have better photos. Well, this video is to debunk all of that because, well, this is the Moto X versus Droid Turbo in terms of camera performance, 4K video recording, photo qualities of both of these devices, and see which one comes up on top. Let's start with the specs of these two cameras, starting off with the Moto X for 2014. You have a 13 megapixel camera with an f2.25 aperture opening with 4K UHD video recording, 1080p, and 720p slow motion video. On the Droid Turbo, you have a 21 megapixel camera with an f2.0 aperture opening. You also have 4K UHD video recording, 1080p, and slow motion 720p. Let's take a look at the photo results from these two phones. Okay, starting off the Moto X, the photos here look pretty decent. They're not exactly the best photos you could find. A lot of these photos are taken with HDR mode on, and you can see my dynamic range is a little increased on these photos. You have sky that's in exposure, and you also have a lighter ground that's just not darkened out because of that sky. Now, one thing you can see pretty relevant in all these Moto X photos is the focus is not exactly the best. Autofocus, especially when people are walking in the photos, they're just going to get really blurry, and there's really nothing you can do. Now, when you compare those exact photos with the photos taken with the Droid Turbo, the photos look a tiny bit better. You can definitely see a little bit more detail. To me, the colors look a little bit more natural on the Droid Turbo than the Moto X. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but unfortunately, the same focusing problem is here on the brand new Droid Turbo. You can see that some people walking in the shot are just really blurry. Now, taking a photo of a more static image like this building here on the Moto X, you can definitely see a little bit more grain on the pillars, on the bricks. On the Droid Turbo, you definitely have a little bit more of a darker image. I'm not exactly sure why, because it was taken at exactly the same time. Now, the good thing is the Droid Turbo has a little bit less noise on the photograph than the Moto X. Now, it's not exactly gone, but it's just a lot less than the Moto X. Now, here's another static shot taken with the Moto X, and this one's actually pretty good. The colors are about right. The focus might be a little off for the people walking off in the distance there, but colors are pretty good, and the exposure is about right for this photo. On the Droid Turbo, there's really not that much difference between this one and the Moto X photo. They're exactly the same. Honestly, I think the details exactly the same from the Moto X and the Droid Turbo. Now, the next shot I want to talk about here is this macro shot of a tree. Now, this is the Moto X version of it, and it looks pretty good. The colors are a little faded out. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. Honestly, I think it's just because of the cloud cover that day, but it's pretty good in detail. There's a lot of great detail on the little wood chips that are sticking out of that tree, and honestly, this is a very good photo from the Moto X. Now, taking a look at the Droid Turbo photo, it looks a little different. The colors are a little different. The focus is a little off. That might have been my fault, but generally the Droid Turbo has a little bit more of a cleaner image in terms of color, or that's just my liking. I like the way the Droid Turbo photo looks more. Another image from the Moto X here of a building, and this one looks a little underexposed for the most part. The sky is in decent exposure. This is even with HDR mode on, and the building is a lot darker than it actually is in true life. It looks a little different. The photo is not exactly pleasing to take a look at. To me, the photo doesn't look as good as the Droid Turbo photo, and here's the Droid Turbo photo. This one looks a lot more closer to real life here. The building is exactly the same color as it is in true life color form. And also, look at my dynamic range. The sky is still in perfect exposure. The grass looks green. The building looks red. It looks very, very good here. Now we'll get to the 4K video here. Now, this one's pretty shocking. The Moto X has some decent video. It's not exactly the best quality here. You can take a look. It's pretty shaky. It might give you a little bit of nausea here if you're watching it on your cell phone or on your computer, but it's not that terrible. terrible. Actually, the detail is pretty good. The focus is pretty good. Autofocus is pretty quick. You do have to tap away sometimes to get like macro shots or anything. Now, unfortunately, it's raining here, so I can't really walk around, but you can see how shaky it is just holding it by hand. Now, taking a look at the Droid Turbo video, it looks a lot more shaky than the Moto X. Now, this does not make sense to me because, again, this was taken right next to the Moto X, right after it anyway, and it's basically about the same person, and my hands are not that shaky, so this one is really strange. Again, it might give you a little bit of nausea, just don't look at it too hard. The video quality, though, it's basically the same. The colors look a little bit better than the Moto X, but in terms of video quality and performance, I think they are on par for each other in terms of video performance. So all in all, in terms of photos, I do say the 21 megapixel camera sensor on the Droid Turbo has a little bit more of an edge in terms of getting the colors right. It might be the color processing. I'm not exactly sure what really wins out here, but in terms of a 13 megapixel to 21 megapixel jump, there is definitely not that much more quality here. I would be completely happy with just the Moto X. Just give me some stabilization, maybe give me some more accurate colors, and then there you go. So let me know what you guys think in terms of the quality of the photos and the videos. Let me know which phone you would pick in terms of video quality and photo quality down in the comments below. And as always, my name is Marco Hanna, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.